YouTube Oz going. The Go Nows is back. Cornerback rankings for the 2023 season. A lot of good corners in today's NFL. Ranking top 20 in this video, top 32 for our Twitter subscribers. I've been doing this for every position group. There's a playlist full of them, doing some unit rankings as well. We still have the safeties to get to. List of rules and criteria listed behind me or above me. Something to remember, that these are essentially predictions for the upcoming season, how I think they will play. It's kind of how I always done it here right before the season starts. But in-season content, cannot wait for it. So hopefully you join us, like, subscribe to notifications on, follow us on Twitter. That's very important. Link pin in the comment section for all of our social media pages and our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, code GOAT. Liquid IV's always got some new flavors, new options there, so check it out. Top 20 corners. Number 20, I go L'Jarius Sneed from the Kansas City Chiefs, who is pretty versatile as well. Can move around a bit, can play in the slot if you need him to. And I like that they have a guy like Trent McDuffie who can kind of play in the slot, play outside. So they kind of mesh well together, even though not really going to see them both outside at the same time a whole lot. DJ Reed at number 19, which isn't really a huge name maybe because Sauce Gardner's on the other side perhaps, but very strong season last year for the Jets. We saw why he got that contract. Chidobe Awuzie of the Bengals dealing with injury last year, but was really solid before that. You know, and the Bengals kind of get the most out of these guys. They've really improved guys, and we saw that with Awuzie. I like that he can pretty much play any coverage. Like, he's equally effective man, whether it's press or off, and then, zone. We see the Bengals mix it up with their zone coverage, cover 2, cover 3 in there with a good amount of man too. So, being able to be effective in any of those coverages is pretty key. Tre'Davious White, yeah, most people will probably rank him towards the top just because the name, just because, what he once was. I think injuries have taken a toll on him a little bit. He just did not seem right when we saw him play last year. In my eyes, I know maybe some people still think he has it, and he could. I ranked him in the top 20. There's a lot of good corners, and maybe he steps back up this year. Maybe he gets a little bit more like himself, but that's a tough one, because I wasn't thrilled with the way he was playing last year. So, and we know the talent's in there somewhere, but I think some of the injuries over the years have kind of taken a toll on him a little bit, because he was easily a top 10 corner, like easily. Adoree Jackson at 16. Very impressive year last year. I mean, he's solid as long as he's healthy. That's kind of been the concern with him in the past. But the Giants, like to run a lot of man coverage. I respect the hell out of the corners that play that much man, but even more so, the Giants blitz a lot. They run a lot of cover 0, so the corners are kind of stuck on an island in man coverage. And I thought Adoree Jackson did a hell of a job in that scheme there. So I got him at 16, just missing the top 15 cut. 15 through 11. Tyson Campbell was very impressive last year. Young, long corner, really took a step up last year. So I think he can, because he was kind of known as a raw prospect, like a boomer bust raw prospect coming out a couple years ago, and he's already getting going. That's a great sign. So another step up this year. Tariq Woolen had a fantastic rookie year. You see the instincts. You see how he knows how to use his athletic ability, but always has his eyes on the quarterback. Looks like a really good fit in zone coverage there in Seattle. Stephon Gilmore, new corner for the Cowboys, comes in at 13. Yeah, he's getting older. Maybe declining a tiny, tiny bit, but maybe not, and especially going to the Cowboys. Really good defense, playing alongside Trevon Diggs. He could play even better than he did last year. Been very good in man coverage, and you do worry about the older guys. They get to a certain point where they can't really run man anymore. But he's going strong running man coverage. I thought when the Colts were either running cover 3 or man for the most part, I thought he was better in man still. Cowboys run a lot of single coverage, so that fits. It fits very well there. Denzel Ward at 12. Denzel Ward to me has like those moments. Like, he has those glimpses, those moments. I was like, it's not usually when you say that, it's like a few. It's a lot more than a few, but where he looks like a superstar, looks like a top 3 corner in football. I really want him to put it together, in terms of being consistent. I think he's been a little underwhelming because I know he has that top 5 or so corner ability in him. I saw just when he was out, he saw Emerson and Newsome in there. I thought they were equally as effective almost, but Ward is better. But I kind of want him to put a full season together here. He's got to finish a full season. And Charvarius Ward had a monster year for the Niners. He actually had a really good year for the Chiefs the year before. Chiefs always kind of make these under-the-radar corners look maybe better on their team for some reason, but then he goes to the Niners and he has an even better season. I thought he was fantastic, and the Niners like to mix it up a little more zone, obviously, but a bit more zone, but they like to mix it up, and I thought he was effective Whether he's in different types of zones. I saw a lot of cover 3, cover 4, and we saw some man coverage. I thought he was effective and all across the board. It feels like, last year on the Chiefs, big step up. In his actual last year, and it was on the Niners, another step up. So where is he going to continue to climb? So he's a tough one to leave outside the top 10. There's just so many good corners. Next group of guys, A.J. Terrell, which 2 years ago we saw him look like one of the better corners in football. And that is kind of based off one season, but when we did see him play last year, he looked pretty solid. Not as good as the year before, but pretty damn solid. And we know the upside he has. He was another one of those kind of, as a prospect, like a long-term upside guy. He's already getting going. Last year they switched up their coverages a little bit, the Falcons, and they'll switch them up again this year. I'm hoping maybe a little bit, a little bit more two-man under perhaps. That would be great, for Terrell. But I think he's able to mix it up. Xavier Howard at number 9, big-time playmaker. Jalen Ramsey I did not rank because he's either going to miss most of the season or all of the season. But having Ramsey would have helped Howard. I might have ranked him better because, he's been the number 1 corner on that team as a playmaker, and having a lockdown guy on the other side like Ramsey, that's going to only elevate his game. So that was tough for the Dolphins. So they probably would have had 2 guys in the top 8 or so easily if Ramsey didn't go down. And then Ramsey I would have ranked at 2 if I were to rank him. But Howard's been one of the best playmakers over the last several years. The Dolphins were, especially under Flores, they were running a lot of, and he's been gone for a couple years, but they were running a lot of, man coverage, cover 0, blitz, and he's on an island by himself, and he's out there creating all those turnovers. It's pretty remarkable. And, that's where people don't understand, really. That's a big problem with, fans and media, is just comparing corners to other corners like they're doing the same exact thing. People act like they're all playing man coverage on the best receiver on the field, like the best corners on the best receiver on the field, every single play. And that's really not the case. There's a lot of corners playing zone, and zones, you got to be smarter. But man is extremely tough. And so guys that are playing that much man, especially if they're on an island and a heavy blitz team, they're just going to give up more catches and yards. It's just going to happen, So people don't really realize that. They just kind of go off of, just give me the corner, who they played, what happened when he played this team who was a really good receiver. And it's just kind of, people don't realize that not everyone's in man coverage all the time. Not everyone has as much help as other guys. There's such thing as zone, different types of zones, So Howard will give up, if you look at how many yards or catches he's given up, you shouldn't really knock him too much on that because he's had a very tough job, tough responsibilities there. So he's been a big-time playmaker. J.C. Horn is maybe the toughest guy to rank here because I based on his talent and what I've seen J.C. Horn do when he is on the field and knowing what he can become, I think he could be the number 1 corner in football. If he's this is like a prediction or a scenario, I guess what I'm about to say. If he played every game so far throughout his young career, I'd be predicting that I would have him as the number 1 corner. I think he's that talented. I think he is that talented where he could be the best cornerback. He has the skill. I already seen the skill for him to be the number 1 cornerback in football. He just cannot stay healthy. He hasn't had a year where he stayed healthy, and he's even dealt with some injuries early in this offseason, or late in this offseason, I should say, already too. So he's so hard to rank. I want to put him towards the top, but is he going to play every game? So it's hard to put a guy up there where you cannot really trust him to play every game. It's a shame because, again, he is. I see the skill. I take pride in covering corners too. It's always my favorite position to kind of cover, rank. I feel like I fully understand the position. J.C. Horn already has the skill to be the very best corner in football. So he's got to stay healthy. Darius Slay at 7, really good year, especially at his age last year. Was locked down, and the Eagles mixed it up too. Different types of, all different types of zones in man coverage. So you like the, coverage versatility, if you will. I thought Jonathan Gannon, who the Eagles did lose, he did a really good job mixing up the coverages. And they did have a lot of help from the safeties. The safeties really weren't the best on paper, but except for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's also a slot guy. But so could the loss of Gannon, because I really thought he called a good secondary, the coverages, could it slightly hurt the corners of the defensive backs. Maybe him aging a little bit. I did think he was a lot better the first half of the year than the second half of the year. He was still good in the second half of the year, Darius Slay, that is. But I'll put him at 7. Maybe some of the other guys that still got some youth stay above him. But I did think Slay was better than 7 based off last year. So I'm excited to see what he has here. Marshawn Lattimore at number 6, obviously a guy you need to see on the field every week, but a very, very good corner. I thought earlier in his career we saw the flashes. He was a little inconsistent. I think when he's on the field, I think he's a lot more consistent now with those flashes and showing the good corner that he is. Maybe a great corner. So I'm excited to watch him in that Saints. I like the Saints secondary a lot. So I got him at number 6. Out of the top 5, I got Marlon Humphrey at number 5. And I know we're going to have some debate sparking about my number 4 in the comment section, but Marlon Humphrey at 5. I honestly thought Marlon Humphrey was a little better, and his name is spelled wrong, so I apologize for that, the graphics guy. Man, I do like the new graphics, though, so we'll give him that, even it up there. But Humphrey, I thought maybe was a little better a couple years ago, but I do like his ability to play in the slot as well. Does play more outside, physical, can play man, can play zone. He was always more of a man guy, but the Ravens trying to add a little more zone in there. I think he steps back up this year. I don't think he's been playing like the number 5 corner, maybe not too far off. I have a feeling he steps back up. They got Kyle Hamilton playing in the slot and playing safety. I think Marcus Williams could be better this year, so the pieces around him could be better, which could help him as well. Trevon Diggs, I got at 4. This is a Trevon Diggs page, basically. I'm a big Trevon Diggs supporter. There's a lot of people that just don't like Trevon Diggs as a top-tier corner. There's a lot of people like that out there. But this guy is an incredible playmaker that is only getting better. The Cowboys run more single coverage than anybody. A lot of man coverage, a lot of being on an island. I think he's done a hell of a job. So if you look at, he's giving up some yards maybe, but that's just going to happen if you're playing that much single coverage. The most in football, the Cowboys, the most in football. So it's going to happen, and he's been an incredible playmaker, ability to keep his eyes on the quarterback and stay in coverage as well. We actually, even though the Cowboys ran more single coverage than anyone last year, we actually saw them mix in more of a variety of zone coverages last year, and I thought Diggs did a really good job, like staying in his zone, but then keeping eyes on the quarterback, leaving his zone. So that's only the start. That's only the start for him in those coverages. So he's just getting going. To me, he's a young corner that I was very high on at Alabama. That this is not surprising what he's done so far. It's not surprising to me. I think he's only going to get going. There's a reason he got that contract that he did. I thought it was a very good contract. And then factor in more than Dan Quinn's still there. The defense is very good. They add Stephon Gilmore. I mean, you have a lockdown corner opposite of you. You're a playmaking corner. You have a lockdown corner on the opposite side of you. So it's going to be tougher for opponents to deal with that, so that's just going to elevate Diggs' game, which he's going to elevate himself. So I like Trevon Diggs. I like his game a lot. Yeah, he might give up more yards than, a guy that might be in zone coverage a little bit more, Darius Slay, A.J. Terrell, but that's, because there's differences in coverages there, but he's going to be a big-time playmaker, and he's only going to get better. Top 3 was pretty clear. Again, I do want to mention Jalen Ramsey I would have at number 2 and I've always been people are knocking Jalen Ramsey now too, but even before the injury, obviously. But I've been a big fan of his. He's either 1 or 2 to me. But I think, unfortunately, we know he's going to miss most of the season. I worry if he's going to miss the whole season. But maybe things are progressing pretty well. I already heard some positive things. But Sauce Gardner at 3 had an incredible year last year. I mean, it's such a good season. It's there's 2 sides of it. It's like such a good season that it's scary potential for a rookie to have that good of a season. Cornerback too, maybe the second hardest position to play in football after quarterback. I guess debatable. But for him to be that good, it is scary how good he can be, and he could just be the best going forward. Plain and simple. But it also might be hard to, because corner, anything can happen. You give up 1 extra catch per game or one thing, you run a little bit different coverages, anything can happen. So it might be tough to repeat that performance in year 2, but I know he'll have even better performances throughout his career. I think he'll be a top 3 corner this year. Excited to watch him. Got Jair Alexander at number 2, big time play. Yeah, that's the thing I like about Alexander, because he's he's a playmaker, but he's a lockdown guy at the same time. Feels like he's everywhere a lot of the time, flying around the football field. So that's what I love about his game. Maybe he could be known, another guy that has a shot to be known as the best corner in football after this year. I like Patrick Surtain at number 1. I've been very much impressed with him. Obviously, the first year he was in, he ran a lot of man coverage. Last year's a lot of cover 4. They bring up Vance Joseph, so I think he's going to mix those things quite a bit. Because 2 years ago it was Vic Fangio, a lot of man for the most part that year, and he has kind of been, cover 3, cover 4 mixed in there. But last year with the Broncos, it was a lot of man coverage. And then this past year was, Ejiro Evero, who's a big fan of the cover 4, kind of that Raheem Morris, the Rams background. They love cover 4 over there. And I thought Surtain fit that very well. I thought he fit both very well. But Vance Joseph, I really think he's going to, that's kind of what he's been. He's a little bit of mixture of both those and other coverages as well. So I think he's a fit, kind of continue to kind of do what he was strong at Alabama and what he was strong at his first 2 years, what he already has experience doing, and then just being able to just continue progressing because he's that good of a talent. He's a guy that can be a lockdown guy and a playmaking guy at the same time as well. So I feel comfortable with him at number 1. And again, it kind of goes back to J.C. Horn because that was that draft class. Surtain, Horn, Surtain. Like these guys are legit top tier corners in this class. Who's the best one? And I have Surtain at number 1 right now, but I said it when we were talking about Horn. Like if he is healthy, I seen the skill level. Like he could be 1 or 2. Like he can be there. Like if he was healthy, like Surtain was all the way through, we might be talking about him as the best corner in football. So the top of that class was really good, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting too because there's been like top tier corners like that in a lot of these classes, but they seem to be going even earlier now. Well, I guess Gonzalez dropped a little bit last year. We saw how early Witherspoon went. In the year before, we saw how early Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner went. So did Surtain and Horn kind of create that where they slept on a little bit, even though we knew they were really good? So it's interesting to think about. But those guys, they are the top tier talents. I know Horn, you talk about the injury, deal with the injuries there, but ridiculous talents right there. And then again, the young guy from last year, Sauce Gardner, ridiculous talent. He's up there as well. So I love the corners where they're at in today's NFL because the receivers are getting shiftier, faster. They're better separators. They're getting smarter against zone coverages. The receivers are at all-time high. So the corners absolutely have to be at all-time high. And it's so hard to play the position that you would think since the receivers are all-time high. Corners, again, they have to be, but you think they maybe wouldn't be. But I think they're doing a hell of a job. But then, yeah, this player A gives up this many yards or this many catches in a game, and people lose their shit. They don't realize the difference between coverages and how hard it is to play the damn position, especially the way these quarterbacks and receivers are today in today's NFL and what the linemen are allowed to get away with and how much time quarterbacks have. Not all quarterbacks, but have now. It is so hard to play the damn position. So those are my top corners. Safeties next. Twitter subs been getting top 32. We have some unit rankings out there as well. You can check out all those videos on the channel. Cannot wait for our in-season content. Going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait. Preseason first. We're always talking about that and everything else on our Twitter. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. So going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.